Oh, and we're live. How's it going?
What's up, Home Slice?
I'm good. How you been?
Good. I just saw you yesterday.
I know.
Come to lovely Michigan.
Yeah, that was a nice trip, but back home again in Indiana. So episode number 2, Wazuh is neat. Episode 1, it was okay. We did all right.
Mixed results.
It's not a resounding success. I blame myself.
I blame myself. I should have baked the cake ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then just been like, ooh, look at this wonderful cake that came out.
Like the cooking shows do, that I'm mixing up all the ingredients and now I'm pulling it right out of the oven. The fully formed
That's okay.
souffle.
One thing that I am used to is being an embarrassment to the people that I'm around. And so that worked out pretty much. Pretty much as expected.
So other than baking the cake, it's been a week. I've slept a few times. We did WireGuard. We tried to build a WireGuard VPN.
Well, my mistake is that I was using the sys level 2 hardened Ubuntu image, which has so much shut off that was my problem.
So it was that ultimate kind of security where it's so secure nobody can even log into it.
Correct.
Okay.
But yeah, it was WireGuard. And it's good stuff. Hopefully people have gone out and played with it just a little bit.
Yeah.
I think, a lot to come, especially on IoT and OT devices and their use of WireGuard as time goes on. Something people should be familiar with.
Cool. Well, we're talking about Wazuh today, which is an open source security telemetry. It does a bunch of stuff. We're going to look at that today, but let's fire up episode 2. Wazuh is neat. Ooh, chills every time.
Oh, man, Cal. It's cinematic. I love it.
Yeah, it was a worthwhile investment. Like I said, $50 to a teenage kid does amazing things. So yeah, we're gonna
use arts.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about Wazuh. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna share up my screen here to talk about that. Let's bring up Wazuh here. We'll go ahead and share that. So here's the open page. Wazuh, like I said, an open source security package. And as we look, security package, that's a pretty broad category. But as you look at it, security analytics, intrusion detection, a lot of stuff that it can do. And I'm actually taking a bit of learning from your mistakes last time. I'm gonna start the cake baking. So we're gonna use this cake metaphor. The cake that we're gonna bake today, it actually takes 10 minutes to bake. And so I want to go ahead. I'm gonna get that started. We'll come back and talk about it while we're playing around with it. But I want to make sure that we get it, that we can play around with it and people can see it. So I'm actually going to do an install of Wazuh and get that started super quick here. And so from that main page, I brought up, get started. I'm going to bring up the installation guide for Wazuh. And today, to keep it simple, there are a couple options. We'll talk about this. I'm going to do the all-in-one. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I'm going to do the all-in-one installation, and we're going to do it unattended because, like I said, I want the cake to bake in the back end. So there's a command here to install it. I'm going to go ahead and copy it from that page, the all-in-one installation command. And so having copied that, I'm going to go and I'm going to switch to, let's switch to my server that I have running here. And this is a standard, it's running in Google Cloud Platform. I've set up, I did a little bit of pre-work, but I installed an Ubuntu 2004 this morning, and I did an sudo apt update and sudo apt upgrade to get it all patched up and ready to go. And now I am just going to paste in that command that I grabbed from the Wazuh all-in-one installation and get going. And actually, I copied it and I made a cardinal rule here. What did I forget to do, Aaron?
You forgot to sudo super user.
Yeah, correct.
You got to actually sudo su. Yep, there you go.
There we go.
Now you got it.
Now I'm ready to go. Okay, one more time. Okay. So that installation is going to go and run in the background, which is great.
Can you talk about like what were the sizing specs that you put on that instance?
Yeah, I did a pretty basic. I should go back and look.
Like 2 vCPU, 4 gigs of RAM.
Yeah, I think that's right. I'm bringing it up.
Maybe 100 gigs of storage. That'd be a good place to start.
Yeah, I didn't even do 100 gigs to get started. That it's I did a 40 gig install, and that'll get us started. And the beauty in Google Platform, of course, is I can easily scale that up down the road. And
resize your disk on the fly, whatever you need.
Yep, correct. And as you mentioned, it's it's an E2 medium in the Google Cloud Platform world, 2 virtual CPUs and 4 gigs of memory. So that's where we're starting. All right, let me go back and let's share go back to our Wazuh. Okay. Make ourselves a little bigger. So, so as I said, Wazuh is an open source security platform, the open source security platform, according to them. And they forked back in 2015, I think, forked off of another program called OSSec. And I don't remember much about it at the time, but according to the Wazuh team, OSSec was not doing updates very frequently and weren't putting sweet new delicious features into their product. So the Wazuh team picked up that ball and ran with it and added some additional features. But the kind of things that you can do with Wazuh, security analytics, so pulling in together that and log data analysis, pulling in logs from different machines on your network, whether those be this is running on Ubuntu Linux, but pulling in Windows logs or even Mac logs, pulling in, as they have down here, cloud security, pulling in logs from your cloud boxes. Also does intrusion detection. Inherently inside of this platform, there are different types of intrusion detection. So they're doing host intrusion detection, connecting to hosts. But there's a plugin you can tie into another open source package, Suricata, which we're not installing today, but you could use that to pull in network intrusion detection logs or alerts as well. Vulnerability detection from their logs that they can see, hey, you're vulnerable to this CVE number that just came out. So there's an issue out there in the wild that hasn't been patched for yet, and you're vulnerable to it, so you can know that. Configuration assessment. This is a cool one that we'll see today.
Yeah, I love that part of it.
Yeah. So how are you performing against like the CIS hardening guidelines? Mm-hmm. How secure, on a percentage score, how secure is this box? The thing that bit you last week. Too secure, apparently.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But it does SCA benchmarking and some other things on configuration assessments.
Yeah. Incident response, that's a little bit of a, maybe a little bit of a misnomer. The way that
An oversell.
might be a bit of an oversell. The way that they're doing incident response is they have some active response things. So they do have a little bit of functionality around when X happens, go and do Y on that box. So they could maybe change some firewall rules on a Linux box to
Basic orchestration.
yeah, basic stuff. And then this is kind of neat, and we may come back and look at this in a future episode if we keep plugging away at this. But the cloud security and container security, as I talked about, so API plugins and some ability to interact with Amazon, AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud Platform, and pulling those things, and container to security to do the same thing with Docker. Pretty interesting stuff. You have been playing around with Wazuh. Would you say that it's neat or maybe nifty? Or
I don't know. I think I'm a little bit more affectionate towards Wazuh than just a neat or nifty. One of the, I mean, I'll say like there are tools out there, like commercial tools that you can pay that have like some more secret sauce in it. But for me, one of the big limiting behaviors of customers that are making a choice about an analytics platform is it comes down to cost. And so maybe they don't deploy it as broadly as they would like to because there's data ingest charges or there's really expensive retention charges. And I like this because it kind of democratizes that. And it's like, maybe deploy it on every host and start pulling endpoint telemetry, that really gives us some application telemetry, identity telemetry, host telemetry, maybe a little bit of network, but I'm kind of bearish on network telemetry. As we encrypt traffic and microsegment, our ability to harvest telemetry goes down. So I do really like this approach, and being able to scale it out broadly, I think, is almost more important than whether it has some gee whiz, kind of AI features in it that people are all driving towards. And so I like it for that reason, is that people seem to, when they use it really broadly, which gives us a wonderfully complete picture of their enterprise.
yeah, well, and under the hood, the Wazuh secret sauce, they rebuilt. There's an agent that's got some secret sauce in Wazuh that it's pulling various pieces together and doing some file integrity
But it's based on
monitoring.
Logstash, so
Yeah,
it's a really common agent to
right.
deploy.
But yeah, on the server side, they're building on top of you said Logstash, but to me Elk, which we may do a whole episode on that. But Elasticsearch, kind of that triumvirate of Elasticsearch,
Kibana,
and Logstash, and they're using FileBeat as well to move some logs around internally. But the benefit there of also open source, some supported options, support options you can pay for as well. But you mentioned AI. If you wanted to add on some AI components, I'm not saying it's super easy, but it certainly can be done. That you could use, if Elk is holding your logs, you could plug in some other things.
and we're working on that. We may do a demo of Google Chronicle and Wazuh at some point,
right?
To bring in a lot of those capabilities.
Cool. Well, installation's still going away. Oh, we're really close though. Actually, it's generating some random passwords now and creating backup, which I've done this a couple of times. I know we're close at that point.
Well, I'll talk just a little bit about, we kind of have this journey to, robust malware protection, that has a pretty rote process to it. And one of the big components of malware protection is eliminating the horizontal movement inside of OT, IT cloud environments. And there's a journey to get to, micro or nano segmentation that starts with, we back up from there and say, okay, well, we need application dependency mapping. And how applications and hosts talk to each other. And I like to do a risk profile on those dependencies. So when I say, hey, here's an application, how does that rank order in my risk profile against all my other applications? And where should I start microsegmenting? And before that, there are a couple other steps about collecting network telemetry, et cetera. But this is a really powerful tool in understanding our application dependencies and what our risk profile is for those applications so that we can start to triage our efforts when it comes to microsegmentation or other types of ransomware, malware protections that we're going to put in.
Yeah.
Did I buy you enough time for it to finish?
You did. Good work. All right. So, that installation ran as it does. It installs a bunch of stuff, and it finishes with, after doing that whole script and doing the all-in-one unattended installation, that it comes back and it pre-generates. And in a production environment, you could go, change these, but it's going to generate out passwords for the different components and password change, and remember to update that. And then it finishes with, you can access the web interface for the application now at this address, HTTPS, and then enter the IP address of the Kibana IP. And here are the credentials for that, which are Wazuh is the username and a really nice long password, which I'm going to go ahead and copy that so that I have it ready to go. And that's all ready for us to do cool stuff with. All right. And now I'm going to bring up my Windows box that I created. So again, earlier today, I went and fired up, and this is, I'm going to get that title screen out of the way here. Actually, no, it'll be fine. It won't be too much.
You're good. You're good to go.
Yep. All right. So I got a Windows 2019 box here, and sitting on the same network, and running in Google Cloud Platform. But I'm remoted into that, and didn't do any special magic here today. Hopefully that works. So good. My password's there. I'm not ready for that yet. So I need to go to HTTPS. Kibana IP, which I have to go and look up what that is again. Should have had that ready. Kibana IP is 10.128.0.26 is my IP address. The next one up from the last time I tried it. All right.
Hey, it worked.
Hey, it works. Something's running. Your connection is not private. Now, this basic install we didn't do all the certificate setup and all that.
It issued its own certificate.
It issued its own certificate. So
we'll trust it for the moment.
It's complaining about that. Like you said, we're going to proceed, even though it's a little unsafe. And this is looking positive. And as that script said, I'm going to log in with user Wazuh and the password that it generated. Uh-oh. That's not inspiring confidence, is it?
Did you have a space at the end of it?
Let me see. Uh-oh. That's fantastic.
This is what happens when you bake the cake live.
It is, isn't it? It's happened yet again. Oh, that's hilarious. Not really, though. Well, do you have...
I have a Wazuh environment that I prepared for your ultimate failure if you'd like me to share it.
Yes. Will you please make me look less bad? Well, it's not less bad. Will you please go ahead? All right, I'm out. You can share your screen. That's fun.
Let me, yeah, I'll share mine here. Can you see this guy?
Yeah. Go ahead and loading it.
All right.
All right.
So I am actually logged into a Wazuh box that has 3 agents attached to it. And we can drill in here and take a look at some of the benchmarking that's done. So this is one of my favorite pieces is that we can, I'm all about like, data's great, but I want to be able to take action on it pretty quickly. And I love, the sys benchmarking is a little bit more comprehensive. I don't have that enabled on this agent here, but this gives us the ability to go in and actually look at, all the benchmarks that pass failed in the environment. And I can take a look and it's going to explain to me what the rationale is behind enabling or disabling a certain function, where the registry key is, and what I need to do specifically to go remediate that. And so it's not just kind of like, oh, you're vulnerable. It's like, okay, Captain Obvious. What do I do about it? And I love that this is curated in here and you kind of get the, all right, so here's what's next and here's what we do about it. And then we have a whole variety of like regulatory compliance. And these are always being updated for us. And so we're actually able to go in and, Brian and I are pretty big on the NIST CSF, and the 853 has a lot of commonalities with that. And we're able to go and see which rules we meet and don't meet, and actually when they're being triggered actively by log events. And those kind of boil to the top. And so we're actually able to see the specific controls of like AC7, unsuccessful login attempts. And so it gives us a lot of very powerful data that we can use. And the Wazuh component is kind of the pre-built security analytics that come along. But you can see you can get to Kibana and Elasticsearch underneath of it. And I don't have any specific dashboards built right now, but you have the, pretty much the full Kibana capabilities to go create your own dashboards inside of it based on all the data that's in Elasticsearch. And there is a spot where we can do this of ingest more data in. And I'm a big fan of this. If you look at all these different plugins, this, if you so choose, you can use this kind of as a single pane of glass to go pull in logs from your Cisco switches or Azure logs from your environment, Docker metrics out of your Docker or Kubernetes pods, Google Cloud logs. So you can see there's just like such a massive amount of plugins that we can use. Pull IP table logs. It's just really, really yummy goodness. Nginx web servers. So I'm a big fan of all the different plugins that we can use here to just kind of like really harvest larger and larger and larger data sets that paint a pretty solid picture. And Suricata, like you talked about. So
all right, really I may have salvaged. All right, okay. I pasted that password into Notepad and then repasted it, and if you can believe it, that worked. So some sort of copy paste formatting error or something. Maybe it was a space, like you said.
It's okay. You can rationalize it, but
yeah.
Whatever helps you sleep at night.
All right, so I'm back to enter that password and I'm logged in, and so this brand new. And again, this is from that, my raw Windows server and no agents on this manager. So I'm gonna go ahead, and I keep trying to click the actual screen. I'm gonna add an agent, and it has, and this is, inside of our fresh new install of Wazuh, that it has this, no agents are installed. Go to this page and add them. I'm gonna add a Windows server, and the actual server address is 10.128.0.26 on this little network that I've created. You can create different groups and say, which group do you want to install this agent into? We're just going to use the default. And then because I selected Windows up above here, it's creating this custom script that I can copy that will, install it on a Windows machine. So if I go here and I'm going to run an admin PowerShell, I'm going to bring up on my Windows box, and I'm going to go ahead and paste that command in that it generated. So did my install, said I want to install an agent on the Wazuh box. It created this script that we're going to go ahead
And you're running this on the client right now.
I'm running this on the
Not
client.
on the server.
I accessed the web server from the client that I wanted to install it on, and then I got this command. The beauty is that once I have that command, I could package it up and go run it on a bunch of Windows boxes.
You could do a GPO to push it out.
A GPO or something along those lines. And it's done. Well, that was pretty fast. And so now I'm going to go back to my Wazuh.
It's also pretty easy to bake this agent into a Gold Master. If you run Windows Virtual Desktop in Azure or VDI and you have trouble tracking user sessions down to non-persistent VDI sessions, this is muy bueno in being able to help on that telemetry of what user was using what virtual instance and what were the behaviors happening.
So I've got this, my one agent now, which is on my Wazuh dashboard. When I log in there, I've got my agent here and I can go and look at it, and kind of like you said, some interesting stuff that pops up. And so, for example, this SCA benchmark score, not bad, a 69%, security score. And the beauty is that I can go and look up that benchmark and see, hey, show me exactly what succeeded and what failed. I can drill into those, what failed. And so, for example, say, ensure that smart card removal, this license key is in there. And they actually, it's kind of nice that in a lot of cases they'll have like, here's some detail about it. And here's where, you could go to change or fix this. It's not always as simple as that, but it drives.
It generally is, though. It's pretty consistent about being able to drill right into the actions you need to take. And one of the things I love about that is when we do micro segmentation and zero trust networking, we're able to take that device hygiene data and the benchmark scores that it gets and use that to make determinations on whether it has network access or not. So it's a really great data set to start collecting.
Right. I'm going to see if I can pull it off in a couple of minutes here. I'm going to create a PCI folder, show file integrity monitor. So I've got this folder on my C drive called PCI, where all of my sensitive PCI data is stored in. I'm going to go into program files.
C drive?
Interestingly, I said they forked off of OS. Yeah, on the C drive. They forked off of the OS sec. And so the folder is in program files x86.
In 1 minute.
Yeah, OS sec folder. I think I can pull it off. And there's an OS sec. OS sec comp file. And I can file integrity monitoring. I'm not going to pull it off. That'll be one for another time. But we did. Hey, look,
you did really good.
I'm feeling all right. Did I build some stuff?
You built some stuff.
I think I built some stuff today, and I think we talked about how to secure some things. So
I agree.
I'm going to call this. I think it was
a success.
Modest success. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Well, cool, man. Wazuh is neat.
It is really neat. And I appreciate that you've shared this with us today. I think it's something people should spend a lot of time in.
Yeah, but and good.
I'm wondering if you heard that news story about that guy that had to go into the hospital last night. He had ingested 25 plastic horses. The good news is the doctor said that he's in stable condition.
Awesome. And you know what? I think with that dad joke, I think we're gonna have to. I think we're gonna have to leave it there.
I think we have to leave it there now.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
And I don't have my rig set up, so it's gonna be a cold close today. If I was cooler, we'd have some music and stuff, but that's gonna be good for today. So we'll just
thanks everybody. Thanks.
Yeah,
Brian.
We'll just say thanks and sign out. Take care, man. Good to talk to you.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.